Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, 3 Tips for ISAs and Agents to Earn a 90% Signing Ratio with MAPS Coach Anna Krueger. Please note this meeting is being recorded and will be available within 24 hours on the MAPS YouTube channel. Currently, everyone's on mute. However, if you have any questions for your coach, please type them into the chat box. Following the meeting, if you have any questions about today's call or our coaching programs, please email us at fasttrack@kw.com. And that's all for me, Anna. Take it away.
All right, welcome everyone. Happy Thursday. Glad that you are here. And today we're going to be talking about how to increase your signing ratio. How many of you would like to have more people actually hire you? Does that be anybody? Okay, awesome. So I have a quick question for you. Who do you think is responsible for the signature? Is it the inside sales agent? Is it the agent? Is it both? If it's both, is it like 50-50? What's your opinion on that? Jen says both in the chat box. And I know some of you are not inside sales agents. In fact, I think a lot of you are agents. And so just real quick, if you're unfamiliar with inside sales, they're the person who does lead generation and they set up the appointment. So they're not in the appointment, but they're setting up the appointment. And yeah, I see most of you typing in both, and I would 100% agree. So today we're going to talk through how do you set up the appointment to help get the signature and also help them actually show up. And if you're setting your own appointments, perhaps you're an agent in here and you set your own appointments, it will still help you. It's the same exact language. And then we're going to talk through, once you're in the meeting, how do you get that signature and increase the likelihood of that. So that's today's goal. Real quick before we do that, let me just introduce myself in case we haven't met before. My name's Anna, and I have been coaching or doing inside sales since 2006. So what is that now, 16 years? Which is insanity to me that it's been that long. And I have learned a lot of what doesn't work and a lot of what does work. So a lot of what you're gonna learn today is stuff I learned through my failure of, yeah, don't do that. And then what did work for success. So the pattern that I'm gonna give you today is from the class Mastering Inside Sales. It's a class for agents and inside sales agents. And it's basically about how to have relationship-oriented sales. Or I like to say how to be successful in sales, but not be obnoxious. Do you ever feel like you run into obnoxious salespeople? I certainly have. I probably have been an obnoxious salesperson in the past. So the class is all about how not to be an obnoxious salesperson, yet get crazy results. So we're gonna learn a pattern from there today. So go ahead and write this down. The way you're gonna set up the appointment actually showing up and also signing with you is you're going to tell them that 3 things are going to happen. So let me kind of set the background real quick and take a lot of notes because you only remember 8% of what you hear. So do not trust your memory on this. Make sure you write it down. So we're going to drop into the conversation where we're on the phone. We're about to set the appointment. And what we've already done is spent about 3 minutes uncovering their motivation. It takes about that long to get down to the true motivation. It's about 3 minutes. We've also pre-qualified them. So when I talk about pre-qualify, what I mean is we've spent time asking them, where do you want to live? Or what makes you want to sell this house? What's your time frame? I'm not necessarily talking lender pre-qualification. I'm just talking all the logical stuff, right? Like, do you have an agent? Who are all the decision makers? That's what I mean by pre-qualify. So we're assuming we've already spent about 3 minutes getting their motivation. And then we've probably spent about 7 to 8 minutes asking them some logical questions about pre-qualification type stuff. And we have determined this person is motivated and this person is qualified. They are able to get a loan, or they have cash, or they're looking to do something in the next couple months. So here's what you're going to say. Our next step is, so write all this down. You're going to be writing quite a bit. Our next step is to meet together and do 3 things. Number 1, go back over motivation and pricing. Number 1, go back over motivation and pricing. That's the core of what you're saying. Feel free to add in words. So I might say, hey, Sarah, really the next step is for us to meet together and do 3 things. Number 1, we'll go back over motivation and price. Now, I know we've already talked about it, but in person, we'll just make sure we're totally on the same page. Make sure we didn't miss anything. That's how I like to say it. All right, then number 2, We will interview each other to make sure we're a good fit. Or if you're setting this appointment for someone else, you could say you'll interview Kayla to make sure you're a good fit. You'll interview Tanisha to make sure you're a good fit, whatever's appropriate. Now, if you are setting an appointment for someone else, maybe you're an inside sales agent, it's best to know who you're setting it with so you can give them the name. You want to start getting this person excited about whoever they're going to meet with if it's not you. So if I'm doing this with a client, I might say, all right, Nikki, the next step is for us to meet together and do 3 things. The first thing you're going to do with Annalisa is go back over your motivation and pricing. I'll fill her in on what we've talked about, but she'll go over it with you just to make sure I didn't miss anything. The second thing you'll do is interview each other to make sure you're a good fit. Now, I think you're going to love Annalisa. She's awesome. If I had to sell my house, she's the person I would want to list my house. I think you're going to love her. But if you meet and you're not the right fit, you do not have to work with her. But I think you're going to love her. And that's how I like to word it when I'm setting it for someone else. Why do you think I say, if you don't love her, you don't have to work with her? What's the benefit of saying it that way? Anybody have a guess? You can unmute yourself, by the way. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Maybe knowing that there's another option potentially.
Yeah.
You know, someone else on the team that, you know, maybe if it doesn't work with this person, if you like me, you could still maybe like someone else on the team.
Yes. And that's why I say in the inside sales position, because I found through my experience of having done this for so long, some people get all freaked out about that appointment. Like, have you noticed this in setting appointments? It's like they think meeting with you or meeting with the team means I have to hire you. Have you run into this? So a lot of you are nodding your head. So I just found when I added in, I think you're going to love Annalisa. And truly, and I meant this genuinely. If I had to list my house, she's the agent that I would choose to work with. But listen, if you don't like her, you don't have to work with her. And I found it was almost like, even though I can't see them on the phone, I almost felt like I heard this like over the phone, just like a, okay. And I would just remind people, the whole point of this is to see if we even want to work together. You don't have to work with us. If you meet with her and you don't like her, you don't have to hire her. And I would pretty much do that if I got the sense that they were nervous, like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm ready to commit. That usually helped them relax. Okay. All right. So we went over number 1, go back over motivation and price. Number 2, interview each other to make sure it's a good fit. And then number 3, and guys, this is really important. I'm going to say it a few times, and the tonality of which I'm saying it, you want to nail that exactly. We will send you a recording of this webinar, and you might want to write down 9 minutes in, listen again, so you can hear the wording and the tonality. Okay. All right. So then number 3, assuming everything looks good, we will sign paperwork. And notice it's sign paperwork. If you've taken bold, you've probably seen where they talk about a downswing. It's like a subconscious command, basically. We will sign paperwork to activate the next step. To activate the next step. So assuming everything looks good, we will sign paperwork to activate the next step. And then notice there's not a breath here, okay? We will sign paperwork to activate the next step. Any questions? We will sign paperwork to activate the next step. Any questions? What happens when we have a pause?
They'll talk.
They'll talk. How many of you just felt a little bit awkward because we had a moment of silence on the call and nobody was talking? Did that feel a little funky? Hear some of you say yes, some of you say no. People tend to want to fill it. And so when we say, we'll have you sign paperwork to activate the next step, and then if we have a pause, what I found is they often would fill it with some sort of objection or something. But if I said, we'll sign paperwork to activate the next step, any questions? And notice the confidence. It's a downswing. Any questions? Sign paperwork. It's totally different if you say it as like this. Hey, Megan, we're going to do 3 things. Number one, we'll go back over motivation and pricing. Number two, we'll interview each other, you know, make sure it's a good fit. And then number three, we'll have you sign some paperwork if it's a good fit. And it's almost hard to do because I've tried to train myself otherwise, but can you see the difference? And so it produces objections. When people are confident, have you ever been in a scenario where there's a lot of confusion and then someone stands up and they just sound confident and they're like, okay, we need to do 1, 2, 3. This is what we need to do. And we just kind of follow them because they seem confident and like they know what they're doing. Well, that's what you're doing right now in this scenario. So, all right, the next step is for us to meet together and do 3 things. Number one, go back over motivation and price. Number two, we're going to interview each other, make sure we're a good fit. And then number three, assuming everything looks good, we'll sign paperwork to activate the next step. Any questions? That's how you do it. Now, let me just say real quick, when you follow that pattern, and I tracked this on our team the whole time I was on the team, for over a year and a half, we tracked 90% of sellers signed with us, 90%. Industry average is 80. And a lot of people aren't hitting industry average, but industry average is 80. We got 90. Buyers were signing 95% of the time for over a year and a half, the time that I tracked it. So it never deviated. We had 90% seller, 95% buyer. Now, I will say there are other factors that can impact that. And in the time we have, we don't have time to go over all of those. I have a little checklist that if you're not getting signatures, check this checklist. Like, did we do this? Yes. Did we do this? Yes. Did we do this? Oh, no, we forgot. That could also impact it. But the script is the biggest impact. Does that make sense? In the class Mastering Inside Sales, we go over all of the whole list. You get the whole thing. We just don't have time for that in this short little webinar. Okay. And then also that helps with the appointment because they know what they're coming in for. They're very clear what's going to happen in that appointment. And so that helps them be more likely to show up. Okay. Now let's talk real quick about when we tell them if everything looks good, we'll have you sign paperwork to activate the next step. We're going to let the agent, or if you are the agent, we're going to wait till you're in person to explain more about what that agency agreement is. But I used to word it as we'll have you sign a contract or we'll have you sign an agency agreement. And, you know, they just got all like, and guys, can we just be real for a minute? Can you tell me real quick, what are some other businesses that before they engage with you, they have you sign something? Let's just rapid fire share some real quick. What are they?
Doctor.
The doctor.
Doctor's office.
What was that, Anthony?
Doctor's office.
Yeah, doctor's office. We fill out paperwork. Dentist.
Attorney.
Attorney. I just had a shed built in my backyard. Guess what I did? I signed some paperwork. Hired a personal trainer. You know what they had me do?
Sign paper.
For Pete's sake, I'll go get a massage and I have to fill out like a 4-page thing, right? So it's very normal. And I think what happens, I hear people in real estate like, ooh, I'm nervous to talk about the thing. What if it like scares them? Well, if that's your mindset, you are going to scare them off because you're making it a bigger deal than it is. It's just paperwork saying we're going to work together. Every other industry does that, right? Most other industries do that. If you're entering into any sort of partnership, I don't do that when I go to the grocery store, but I'm not in a partnership with the grocery store. But massage therapists, personal trainers, dentists, attorneys, all of these people have you sign paperwork. I just had my house renovated, peep the cool new fireplace. Guess what I did? I signed paperwork, right? And so what we want to let them know is signing paperwork activates the next step because that's really what it is, right? It's paperwork that once they sign it, we're moving along in the process. After they sign it, now they get access to our stager. Now they get access to the contractors, things like that. So I used to tell people when they were like, oh, do you have a stager? Yep, absolutely we do. That's the kind of stuff that we'll share with you once we're in partnership after the meeting. And so that's where that wording came from, is sign paperwork to activate the next step. Any questions? Now, if they have a question, we actually want that on the phone. Do not feel compelled to answer it or solve it, okay? All I'm really doing when I'm setting the appointment is I'm kind of like poking them a little to see if any questions pop out. because I want to provide that to the agent, or if I'm setting it for myself, I want to know before the meeting, what kind of questions are they going to have so I can practice. Some people will say things like, oh, I'm not the kind of person to sign. I always need a minute to think it over. Well, in that case, let's say, Billy, I'm setting an appointment for you. I might say, hey, Billy, they told me on the phone that they like to think things over. You might want to just schedule a reason to step out for 10 minutes after you've done your presentation and say like, hey, let me give you all a moment to think of this. I have a call to make. I'll be back in about 10 minutes. And what I found is usually when you do that, they basically just need to look at each other and say, I like them. You like them? Cool. But they don't want to do that with you in the room. So a lot of times agents will leave an appointment without the signature. And if they had just given them just a few minutes to talk about it with each other, then you would have gotten that signature before leaving the appointment, okay? So that part of our job in setting the appointment is to kind of poke out any questions that they have and just get them to say it so I can prepare you, or you could prepare yourself. Okay, they're gonna have questions about this, this, and this. So if they have questions, when you're on the phone, you'll say, excellent, that's exactly what the appointment is for. I'm writing that down and we'll talk about it in person. What other questions do you have? Perfect. Sarah, that's another great question. I'm going to write that down as well so that Lindsay can go over that with you when she meets with you tomorrow. Great question. All this makes sense? Okay. Now, when you start the appointment, that's where a lot of people fail. There was an Olympic race, and I think it was the 90s, but it was an Olympic race. The US was winning a track race, and it was the handoff, the relay race where you hand off the thingy. I'm not a track runner, but you run and then you hand off the baton and then the next person goes. We were actually winning and we dropped the baton and the handoff and we lost the Olympic race, but we had been winning. The US was winning. And I thought, what a great picture of what often happens between setting the appointment and then the appointment getting started. And so when you're handing off the appointment, whether to yourself, you're setting it for yourself, or to someone else on the team, what they need to do is start the appointment the same way. So let's say that, Mark, maybe you set an appointment for me and you said the 3 things, any questions, blah, blah, blah. Well, I show up, they've never met me. We haven't talked on the phone. They've only talked to you, Mark. But I walk in and I say, hey, you know what, Billy, it is so great to meet you. Mark told me all about your desire to live near the beach, which I think is awesome. Today, we're going to do 3 things. Number 1, we're going to go back over motivation and price. Number 2, we're going to interview each other, make sure we like each other, and want to work together. And then number 3, assuming everything looks good, we'll sign paperwork to activate the next step. Any questions? Anything else that you want to talk about before we're out of time today? All right, cool. Let's jump into it. And then I would go right into the meeting. Can you see how professional and like calming, right? It sends that message of like, dang, this team knows what they're doing. Or this agent, this individual knows what they're doing, because you're ending the call with a wording and then you're starting the appointment with the same wording. So it makes it cohesive. And it really does. Remember, most people are very stressed out about moving. So what it does is it creates a like, okay, I'm in good hands. They're professional, right? And that alone solves a lot of objections. A lot of times when people have a lot of objections, what's going on, it's a lack of trust. Not always. Sometimes they're legit questions about the market. But a lot of times it's a lack of trust. And so if we can just demonstrate, what you'll find is objections kind of go away because you've just built the trust, okay? So that's a 3-step process to help you get more signatures. Now, like I said, there are more things that impact show ratio. There are more things that impact signing ratio. Today we have time for 1. But in the class Mastering Inside Sales, we give you a whole checklist. And throughout the course, we teach you like this impacts it. Make sure you're doing this, make sure you're doing this. And we go through everything. Okay. So let me do a quick bit on just how you can get more like this. And then I'm going to open it up to questions. We'll probably have about 5 minutes or more for questions, and then we'll close out. So do you think that you could get more money because of this webinar today from the content? Like if you implement what you just heard, and by the way, you will. When I was new teaching, I couldn't say, I've seen thousands of people make more money. Now I can say, I know that this works. I would put a month income on it and say, go do it. It will work. You will make more money. Well, there's a whole class of things like this. And the class teaches you how to have relationship-based sales not be obnoxious, just be a normal person talking to other normal people. But we teach you language patterns so that you can successfully talk to them with your personality. That's what a language pattern is. It's like a science of how to talk to people, but it lets you put your personality into it. And so we have a class that's 18 weeks long where we teach you language patterns. We also teach you the business of lead gen lead conversion. So we teach you the economic model, which helps you know, like, have you ever come to work and thought, I'm just going to do the best I can today, and hopefully at the end of the year, I make the amount of money I want? Do you ever show up that way? I've been that person. Like, I know I want to make this much, but I have no idea how what I do today connects that. So I'm just going to do the best I can. I literally used to think this. And when I do my taxes, then I'll know if I hit my income goal. That was how I operated in real estate. Well, now I know if I talk to 36 people a day, I'll hit my huge, scary income goal. Just talk to 36 people a day as an inside sales agent and I'll hit it. We teach you how to figure that out. We teach you how to figure that out. So that class begins in 3 weeks, actually just shy of 3 weeks. It's 20 days from now. If you go to masteringinsidesales.com, you'll see that class. So masteringinsidesales.com, and I'll show that to you right now. And then I'll open it up to questions. So masteringinsidesales.com, you'll click here where it says Mastering Inside Sales, and it will take you to the MAPS coaching page. There's a little video there. It's taking forever to load. Here's a little video that explains how it works. So I'm doing a little video just talking about the program, how it works, what to expect. And then if it sounds like the right fit, you can sign up. And you can have 2 people per team. So if you're on a team, the program used to be $800 for one person. It is now $199 for 2 people per month, which is so much better. And so you can have 2 people per team in that class. Any questions on the class, how it works, how to find it? We have a lot of fun in there. It's a lot like this, except they're more talkative than you all have been. But we have a lot of fun in there. There's usually about 100 people signed up and we're on Zoom. And people have told me they've made friends, they've made community. We have a script partner sign up sheet. Like, we really have wanted to make that a community where you don't feel alone in your lead gen lead conversion. You're around other people hustling to get better. And
Will
guys,
you send that link again?
Yeah, masteringinsidesales.com. And if I can have a coaching moment with all of you, and then I'll open it up to questions. Have you all noticed the market shifting? Yes or yes? And
Yes.
the reality is, we've said we always hear lead gen lead conversion is supreme, but can we just be honest that the last 2 years you could be mediocre and be fine? Because if you listed a house, it would sell, right? Like, yes, you needed some skill, but you could be average and still be really successful the last 2 years. That is changing. Now it's boiling down to your skill. Can you really uncover a client's motivation? Do you really know? How do you talk to someone about the fact that interest rates are now 7%? How do you do that? We talked about that for a whole hour in our webinar yesterday of that class. So this class will help you, and you're going to see an increase because of that class. And so masteringinsidesales.com, it starts in 20 days, 20 days. Okay, any other questions about the class? And then I'll open it up to any questions in general. Oh, Brandon, the checklist is too expansive to share it in 5 minutes. I see your chat there, but we give it to you in the class. And Nancy, yes, we give scripts in the class. Day 1 of class, I give you a buyer script for every lead source and a seller script for every lead source. Day 1 of class. So you will have all of that. Okay. What other questions do you guys have? I can hang out for another 5 minutes for any other questions. And if you don't have any, you're free to go. Hopefully I'll see you in 20 days. We are going to do another webinar 2 weeks from yesterday on how to get client motivation. So make sure, if you're not sure that you're getting my emails, if you go to sendmeadvice.com, you can submit your email and we'll add you to our email list if you're not getting that. But that's how we announce what webinars are coming up and when is class starting, all that stuff. Okay, Andrew said, do you have any suggestions on where to find a qualified ISA? So Andrew, honestly, it's usually your sphere, past clients, people that you already know. That's usually the best place to find ISA talent. And then Industries that usually have people that do well in this industry would be college recruiters, military recruiters, headhunters, because it's very similar. You're talking to people about their goals and their motivation, and it usually involves a lot of paperwork and a lot of time, right? And so those industries tend to have people that do well in this position. And that would be the short answer. But you're essentially looking for a go-getter who's very results oriented and great with people. That's the gist of what you're looking for. Nancy, when will you offer this again after this session? So the next time the class will, the actual class, the 18-week class, the next one will be, Rodrigo, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's mid-February. I don't remember the exact date, but it's like the 8th or 15th or somewhere in there. Okay. So November 2nd is when it starts. That sounds far away, but it's only 20 days, which is insanity. And then February will be the next option. Do we get an email about those classes? If you're on my email list, yes. So you'll want to just go to that sendmeadvice.com. And it's easy. You just put in your name and your email and add me to your list, and we'll get that and we'll add you to our email list. And we send out tips every week, little video tips. We tell you about classes. What other questions do you guys have? Can you all hear my dog? Sometimes you'll get to meet her. She's in class too. She could teach if I was ever out sick, by the way. She's heard language patterns now for she's 11. She knows them all.
Is this class available if we missed a piece or if we were trying to write notes and we couldn't get to them fast enough?
Absolutely. Are you talking about this class today or the?
Yeah, today's class.
Yeah, so if you registered, we'll send you a recording and you can get that again.
Awesome.
Yep. And then we do that with the class also. I'll show you real quick what it looks like. You'll get a client portal. So this is for the actual class, the 18-week class. You'll have a client portal and it has all the sessions. So you can see here, and if you click on it, you can see the recording. And we do that every week. So if you're in the actual class, but then you're out sick, or maybe you're an agent and so you have showings, at that time you can watch the recording. That's totally fine.
Sorry, you said we get the recording if we are registered. You mean for today's class that we are with you, or?
Yes. So everyone for this class, this recording, the last 30 minutes with the 3 tips to get signing up to that 90.95, we will send it out to everyone registered.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And then if you're in the paid class, which is the one that starts November 2nd, you'll get recordings in the portal, which I just showed you guys. What other questions do you guys have? We have 1 minute. It's great seeing you guys, by the way. I see a lot of people that I do not recognize. So this is our first webinar together, perhaps. So it's great to meet you guys. Oh, Karen sent me a private message. Well, I don't know if you meant to send it private. I won't read it out loud, but if I think you meant that public, you can put it in there if you want. Any other questions?
Thank you for all that you've done.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're very welcome. All right. Thank you, Karen. She said, I almost read it. And then I was like, I just said Karen sent me a private message. I can't read that out loud, but she just put it in there. She says, currently in Mastering Inside Sales, loving it. Yay, that makes me happy. Listen, guys, this is why I'm passionate about that class. I have been in sales and been terrible at it. My first year, I thought I was going to get fired, for real. And this was before I was in the real estate industry. Then I learned the language patterns that are in that class, and I became the top performer for my team for the next 10 months. And then they asked me to start training people, and I've been training people ever since. I saw my income change. My whole life looks different. I had never owned a home. I now own a home outright. I had never been on vacation in 2013 when I got into real estate. I had never been on a proper vacation where you got on a plane and fly somewhere. I was 33. I now travel all the time. I have more money to give away to the things that I care to support. So the point I'm making to you is I've lived the world of I'm not great at sales to now I am, because I learned some tools. It's nothing special about me. I just learned some language patterns, and I've seen my life change. I was able to take care of my mom when she was sick. She had cancer. I was able to help pay for things because I had money. So I've lived having no money, and then I've lived having money. And that's why I'm passionate about this class, is when you implement what you learn, your income's going to increase. And when your income increases, now you're paying for medical bills or college funds or giving to a charity or a church that you care about. That's why I get passionate about this stuff, just to be clear. The ripple effect of knowing how to convert leads is massive. Can we all just agree to that? And you're helping the community. How great is that? All right, guys, so we are at time, and I want to respect your time. We will send you a recording. It probably will be tomorrow because it takes some time to process, but we'll get all of you that registered a recording of today's webinar. And then hopefully I will see you November 2nd, masteringinsidesales.com. And it's for everyone. Agents and inside sales agents are both in that class. All right, guys, have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Anna. Great to see you.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out with me today.
You bet.
Thank you. Bye.